Evil Dead Burn is 6 weeks away, and I'm really rooting for this movie. The trailer has me genuinely excited, and there's a casting choice that has me pretty dialed in on this one. There also appears to be some sort of connection to Evil Dead Rise that potentially has implications for the rest of the franchise moving forward. With that said, there's a couple things that I noticed in the trailer that I can't stop thinking about, and as somebody who deeply, deeply loves this franchise, I kind of wanted to talk about them. Evil Dead built its identity on a very specific foundation. Visceral practical horror and a tonal tightrope between genuinely disgusting and genuinely hilarious. Across 5 movies so far, a TV series, a handful of different comic lines, and a bunch of video games, all of the entries that have worked have understood those two things. And somewhere along the way, the franchise started quietly building a mythology around 3 Necronomicons that I don't see enough people talking about. When the trailer dropped, my wife and I watched it, and honestly, it got us both pretty hyped. We went through all of the footage that was released post-CinemaCon, that glorious Red Band trailer that is sure to make every single one of us look at the headrest of our car just that little bit differently. That beautifully chaotic wonder of the lead crawling through the living room with all of that dead-eye greatness happening all around her. Then we watched the Green Band trailer, and once the story started to make itself clearer, so did a few of my concerns. My first concern here is the family angle. I find that family in horror tends to lock the characters into some sort of moral box. That is, unless the characters are written to be douchey characters, of extreme cases of how some people behave, which these characters don't really appear to be, so family protects family. Them's the rules. So when the audience knows that going in, you lose a lot of that moral ambiguity that stories like this rely on to build tension. Who's going to make the selfish choice? Who's going to, sacrifice someone to survive? Unfortunately, I find that the family dynamic tends to answer those questions before the movie ever really gets the chance to ask them. Evil Dead Rise worked around this immediately, making the mother of the family the first Deadite central to the story. The family unit was destroyed immediately and completely, especially when you consider that the father in the story isn't in the picture anymore. I'm hoping that Evil Dead Burn understands that separation and can find its own path. The second thing that jumps out is that in some of the trailer shots, like people scaling the roof or that aforementioned wonder, their effect shots seem to have a sort of digital weightlessness to them. And in a franchise that's excelled maintaining mostly practical effects, something like that stands out. In the older movies, you feel the horror because it feels rooted in reality, like it's something that could exist in our world. When that changes, the tension drops, and you might as well just be watching any other possession film made in the 2020s. But that's not to say that it's all doom and gloom. There are a few things that have me pretty excited. Not the least of which is Hunter Duhan or Hain, somebody correct me in the comments, involvement. If you watched Wednesday, you probably have a pretty good idea as to why I'm excited about this casting. As Tyler, Hunter played a character that was extremely charming and disarming, somebody that you root for. And then the show chooses to reveal that he is the monster that Wednesday has been hunting all season. That transition from charming to devious is something that came really naturally to him, and I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of his range on display in something like Evil Dead Burn. So in my opinion, he's somebody we should be keeping our eyes on. Now the Rise connection. There is a shot in the trailer that, if we're all correct, which I'm pretty sure we are, it would appear that Jessica from the opening of Evil Dead Rise is going to be featured in Evil Dead Burn. If that is who we think it is, the implications for the franchise moving forward are a lot bigger than I think people realize. Naturally, my brain goes to Army of Darkness, where we learn that there are 3 Necronomicons in existence. One for the original trilogy, now the 2013 remake that is no longer a remake has its own, and then Evil Dead Rise has one. And Jessica being involved might not just be a fun little Easter egg. It marks the first time that the franchise shares continuity post-Ash's arc. Which makes me wonder, with Evil Dead Wrath coming, could that film potentially tie to the 2013 not remake? Could we be watching the franchise slowly but surely building towards a convergence of all 3 Necronomicons? And if Ash vs. Evil Dead showed us a post-apocalyptic future that we never really got to get to, could this be what it's all working towards? I mean, it would certainly be a fun way to explain Ash's absence in 2013 Rise and presumably Burn if he doesn't make an appearance. But with Evil Dead Burn right around the corner, the hype is really starting to build. With Evil Dead carrying a certain consistency that is more or less dead in horror these days, I'm a little worried that Burn could be the first potentially negative outlier in the franchise. I am sure, however, though, that the powers that be have considered the optics of their own movies. And if my Necronomicon theory holds any water, we might not just be watching another run-of-the-mill Evil Dead sequel. We could be watching the beginning of something the franchise has been working towards for years. What about you, though? Are you at all worried about Evil Dead Burn sticking the landing, or are you just excited to see what else Sam Raimi and crew have conjured up for us? Thank you.